Hello and welcome once again to the Brock Prince. I'm Jamie Schmale, your host, Member of Parliament for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes, Brock, with new content for you every single Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this program. There are ears that need to hear this message, and in order to get Pierre Poilievre to be the next Prime Minister, we need your help to do that. Tell your friends they can download it on platforms like CastBox, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. You name it, it is out there. On today's show, a Toronto police officer is shot, and the other Randy saga continues. To talk about this and much, much more, we bring on a longtime friend of the show, someone who hasn't been on in a while, but by the opening, you probably guessed who it is. The one and only Larry Brock, Member of Parliament for Brantford-Brant and the critic for justice. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jamie. Happy to be here again.
Crazy news again. A Toronto police officer was shot just last week by someone, surprise, surprise, out on bail.
This is becoming a regular occurrence. There's not a week that does not go by that we read and hear about just devastating news. If it's not law enforcement being targeted, it is law-abiding citizens who are being targeted by individuals who rightfully should be locked up. In this particular case, this individual, 21 years old, don't know the extent of his criminal record, but he had 21 prior convictions of failing to comply. That could be failing to comply with attending court, failing to comply with bail orders, failing to comply with probation orders, and more importantly, at least one current release. I believe it was from the Fort Frances jurisdiction, some 17 hours away from where we are right now, in relation to a violent offense, and I believe a firearm offense, for which he was released on bail. I would suspect that he was probably released to a surety, someone that was supervising him. I don't know the extent of the terms, but I'm sure he has breached a number of those terms in relation to the intentional shooting of that police officer. My information suggests that this individual outed this plainclothes officer who was there to do surveillance on potential stolen vehicles in the area. This individual recognized the undercover officer, took out a stolen handgun, surprise, surprise, probably smuggled in from the United States, and just shot randomly with whatever bullets he had in his cartridge. Luckily, one struck the officer in the stomach. The circumstances could have been drastically different. We could have had a completely different discussion today. Fortunately, that officer survived his intervention at the hospital, but it just goes to show how brazen these criminals have become. Now, I know we've heard in the House that certain members of the Liberal government, including the leader of the Green Party, Elizabeth May, was very, very offended by the language that our leader used in calling this individual a dirtbag. And I think we've got a video of that.
Yeah, let's go up cut one. We'll show the video for those who haven't seen it. We'll also show the minister's response to that, and then we'll get into that. So let's play cut one.
We see the case of the dirtbag Tibor Organo, who shot a police officer in the stomach yesterday while he was out on bail. When will this government finally accept that their hug-a-thug, catch-and-release system is putting our people at risk?
Mr. Speaker, what is extremely concerning is what the Leader of the Opposition is doing in this House today. Canadians need to be extremely alarmed about the fact that when it comes to their rights, his first instinct is to trample over them.
That's what the police officer said. Almost everyone we arrest is out on bail. No one stays in jail where they belong. The city and the feds just don't care. It just doesn't bother them. It doesn't matter how many die and if a cop gets shot.
That's right.
What's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
All right, so that was the exchange. Let's show a point of order after question period. Cue up cut two. This is Patty Hajdu, the Minister of Indigenous Services, with her own intervention, and we'll examine that in just a second. Play cut two.
I've noticed over the last several months a real decline in the tenor of this House. It is disturbing to me as a Member of Parliament to hear other members of Parliament use names and slurs towards constituents of all of ours. These are Canadians that we're talking about. And Mr. Speaker, when we're using names and calling each other names and calling constituents names, I think we can do better, Mr. Speaker. I'm a member of Parliament for Thunder Bay Superior North, and I'm immensely proud of the citizens in my riding.
I'd just like to put on the record that I am very comfortable calling a cop killer a dirtbag. Thank you.
Good intervention by our colleague Michelle Rempel-Garner. But the Liberals are more concerned about offending the alleged cop shooter than actually dealing with the problem itself, which is the out-of-control crime that ravages communities everywhere in this country.
That is such an appalling response from a minister of the Crown, completely tone deaf to the reality. If that had been a police officer in her riding, I'm sure her language, she would have probably not even intervened in the fashion that she did. But let's remember something else.
You'd hope not anyway.
You know, our party is a firm believer in upholding charter rights. Every Canadian deserves that respect. We clearly have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. We have the right to have a fair trial. But in my former career as a Crown, sometimes there are circumstances by which I receive a Crown brief that is extremely, extremely relevant to the prosecution in the sense it's a strong Crown case. That case we just referenced, that individual was arrested on the spot. He was caught in the act of shooting. So it limits, absolutely limits, if not eliminates, any potential defenses this person has, because he was caught in the act. So while I respect our charter rights, there are circumstances by which a strong Crown case presents itself. This is one of those examples. I too would have used very similar language, if not stronger language, in the House to describe those actions. Because far too many police officers are actually now resorting to kissing their family goodbye in the hopes that they may return at the end of their shift. That should not be the mantra of our law enforcement officers in this country. Far too many are being shot, far too many are being killed in the line of duty, and it's because of this disastrous liberal soft on crime approach going back to the days of Bill 75.
Absolutely, and just like I said, the misguided view that they have. Don't offend the alleged cop killer. Like it's unbelievable what's happening here. Okay, the other Randy.
Yes.
That saga continues. You're doing great work in committee with our colleague Michael Barrett and others. Do you want to do the quick, just to get our viewers and listeners up to speed, do you want to do a quick elevator pitch as to kind of Randy when he lost the election in 2019, what happened, the pandemic, and then we'll get into some quick questions. And
I'll do as quickly as I can. So in 2019, he loses the election. He decides to, because of the pandemic, he decides to get into business with a Stephen Anderson, two-person partnership, and they created a company called Global Health Imports. They would supply PPE equipment to distributors in Canada and the United States. However, their business blueprint, pardon the pun, was essentially to defraud customers of the goods that they had paid for. Not surprising, they were embroiled in numerous fraudulent lawsuits, some of which still exist today. Fast forward, one particular company, a California-based company called the Galway Group, wanted to contract with Stephen Anderson. At the time now, I have to be mindful of the time frame. This goes now to post-2021. So now Minister
Randy Boissonnault.
Randy Boissonnault. Minister Boissonnault is now a minister of the Crown, and according to our ethic laws, cannot have a managing or operating interest in a company. You can have an interest in the company, but you can't be actually managing it. So basically the day-to-day decision-making was left to Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson was looking for a payment from the Galway Group of $500,000, $500,000. At the heart of this controversy is a slew of emails between Stephen Anderson and the owner of the Galway Group about putting pressure on Galway Group to release the advance funds of $500,000. And in support of that request, Mr. Anderson makes 9 specific references to Randy. Doesn't identify the last name, but Randy wanted to have a partner's call in one of the text messages. Now, there's only 2 partners, so you can do the math. It's not Mr. Anderson and Mr. Boissonnault. Minister Boissonnault was a former partner. He's likely the Randy, most likely, if not definitively, the Randy that he's referencing to. Now, Stephen Anderson claims it was simply an autocorrect. Now, we know how autocorrect
All 9
works.
times.
All 9 times. Also interesting to note is that the owner of Galway Group, who actually paid the $500,000, remarked that at all material times, Stephen Anderson referred to Randy as his partner and as a public official. Again, you can do the math. He's referencing Randy Boissonnault, Minister of State. So that, in essence, is the controversy. The money was actually sent to Global Health Imports. 16 days later, surprise, surprise, there is a fire, an arson, committed at the warehouse where the goods were being stored, and none of the equipment that Galway Group had paid for was actually received by them. So, of course, they have sued. That lawsuit is still outstanding. But Mr. Anderson and Mr. Boissonnault, Randy Boissonnault, the Minister of State, refuses to own up that he, in fact, is the Randy that he was referencing, or to give us details as to who the other Randy may be.
Wasn't there a text that referenced that Randy was in Vancouver, and as a result, Minister Randy was coincidentally in Vancouver at the exact same time?
At a cabinet retreat, there is a controversy surrounding whether he had access to telephones or other telecommunication devices during the cabinet retreat or cabinet meeting. Now, of course, during the meeting itself, I'm sure that you can't have access to those devices. But as you know, in many meetings that we have on a national basis, you can easily leave the meeting to go to the washroom, to take a look at your phone, to communicate with constituents or other stakeholders or your family for that matter. So we have every reason to believe that's, in fact, exactly what happened. Minister Randy Boissonnault took the opportunity, because it was important to him, as it was Mr. Anderson, to receive that $500,000 advance.
Of course, and let's play up let's cue up cut 3, because my next line of questioning is a result of that, and I don't want to lose this clip. So let's play cut 3.
I admit that I did panic when she said, "Is there another Randy?"
So you lied?
To the reporter, I did, yes.
How much did Minister Boissonnault pay you for your silence?
Mr. Chairman,
How much did he pay you?
I have not had no communication with Minister Boissonnault.
Is it your testimony today that how many times do you say it? 9 references to Randy? Every one of those 9 is an autocorrect?
Yes.
It was Randy Boissonnault. It was Randy Boissonnault.
There's 5 individuals that would be involved in any decision deal-making that we were making.
Who are they?
One was Shauna Parker, one was Felix Papineau, one was Edward, and the last one I won't name. I simply will not name them just based on the turmoil.
You are a self-admitted liar. You lack any credibility whatsoever.
It's pretty darn clear. Now, it makes sense for a whole bunch of reasons why you would not have a Minister of the Crown having direct influence into a operating corporation for a whole bunch of reasons. The government could change policy, you had inside information, you could direct, your team to go in certain areas and potentially reap the rewards of that. So it makes total sense on this. Mr. Boissonnault, it looks like, decided potentially that he wanted none of that and actually wanted just to reap the rewards.
Yes, and what I want to add to that is that clip that you showed also reveals another lie by Mr. Anderson when he said he had no communication with Randy Boissonnault during that period. Minister Boissonnault has attended twice at committee. His first attendance, he also lied to committee. This is a minister of the Crown. Although not being sworn in at committee, there is a presumption at committee, as you will know, Jamie, that you're going to tell the truth. A minister of the Crown deliberately lied at committee when he said he didn't have any communication with Stephen Anderson in and around that time, and further lied when he spoke to Global News and informed Global News that he had always paid the company's bills when he was a partner, an active partner in the affairs of the company. Global News confirmed by looking at court records of the lawsuits that he in fact deliberately lied, misled Global News, because at a time when he had an active interest, he wasn't paying the bills, and he and the company and Mr. Anderson were being sued for that. But to the point that I'm raising right now about no communication, through Global News, it was revealed that there were additional text messages. And from that, we also heard from Minister Boissonnault during his second appearance, oh, by the way, committee members, I received a text message from a perlator company regarding an unpaid invoice. So I took it upon myself. Now, this is a minister of the Crown who's got a staff of hundreds. He took it upon himself, knowing he can't have any operating or management connection with the company. He took it upon himself to text Mr. Anderson and requested a phone call with Mr. Anderson. He claims they spoke for 1 minute. This is at the exact same period of time he's doing a shakedown for that $500,000. So you be the judge, Jamie. So he finally fessed up to communicating, but he could have had other people doing that for him.
Right.
So clearly, in our view, he is still in violation of the conflict of interest.
Now, what would be the biggest punishment if this is conclusive that he is in fact guilty of what we've laid out today on this show and in committee? What's the worst?
Public shaming.
Public shaming.
That's it.
That's it.
Our current ethic rules don't have enough teeth. And that is why our colleague, Michael Barrett, is introducing his own private member's bill for more accountability and more consequences, including fines, if not jail. I think that's what Canadians demand and expect from their elected officials. There's got to be a heightened sense of scrutiny and a higher sense of integrity when we become members of Parliament. We are holding ourselves to a higher standard. This government's level of competency and integrity is the complete opposite of what Canadians expect.
When Stephen Harper took power in 2006 and onwards in 2008, it was the Accountability Act, right? Brought in because of the sponsorship scandal, which was more liberal corruption. And leave it to the liberals to out-liberal themselves in terms of the corruption meter, right? They keep finding new ways, and we continue to have to change the law to keep up to them.
That's precisely what we're doing.
All right, we're pretty much out of time. We did go over, but I have more questions. Unfortunately, we don't have time. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Always.
As you know, the guests get the last word, so the floor is yours.
Jail, not bail. Okay, stop the crime. Our fourth pillar is what our leader and our party intends on doing. We have to ensure that community safety is paramount in our minds. We have to ensure that offenders, serious, violent, repeat offenders, are being held in custody, awaiting their guilty plea or trial, so we can restore common sense, but more importantly, community safety.
Larry Brock, Member of Parliament for Brantford Brant, also the critic for justice. Thank you for your time. Thank you for yours. Don't forget to share the Brock Print, Canada's Conservative podcast. Like, comment as well. Subscribe. Hit the bell on YouTube. Get notified when new content goes live. Also tell your friends, download this at CastBox, iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. You name it, it is out there. New content for you every single Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next week, remember, low taxes, less government, more freedom. That's the blueprint.